Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Boro Fan TV and the Monday Night Show with me, James Hutchinson. The new season's kicked off for Boro yesterday at Craven Cottage. We took on Fulham, promotion favourites, and we had a credible draw. Let us know what you think, Boro fans. Were you happy with the performance? Were you happy with the result? We're going to look back at that game. We're also going to look ahead to the games this week. We've got League Cup action on Wednesday down at Blackpool, followed by the return to the Riverside this weekend as Boro take on Bristol City. To do all this, joining me tonight, I've got Tony Guest, David Campbell and Damon LaRoche. You all right, boys?
Evening all. Right.
Great to have you with us, lads. As always, Boro fans, share your thoughts and views with us. Anything to do with Boro and the game so far. That's what makes this show so special. So play your part in this week's Monday Night Show. Right, Tony. Fulham, first game of the season. As we said on last week's show, we probably couldn't have picked a more difficult game to start the season with. Neil Warnock's starting lineup contained three debutants: Joe Lumley, Matt Crooks, and Hutchy. What did you make of their contributions?
I thought the keeper done okay, James. Made a couple of decent saves, one off Wilson, then one in the second half where the Sky pundits were screaming it should have been a penalty or whatever when it came off our defender and he cleared it away with his legs. Yeah, so no criticism really of the new keeper. Crooks, very quiet. I think he got put in a position after Warnock's changes, which I don't think he's played very often. Never tore up any trees, but he didn't do, he didn't do too bad considering it was his debut. And the other guy, if he's going to be our main target man, like we were just discussing there, to gain us 15, 20 plus goals, to turn us into a promotion chasing team, he showed plenty of commitment, plenty of desire, but I don't think he's a perfect Warnock centre forward, but I don't think he's the solution to solving the problem which we've had for a lot of seasons now by getting goals left, right, and centre. So, but like you say, for the 50, 60 minutes he was on, he made a nuisance of himself. But like I say, that's not what we need because of the way we play. If the kid does manage to make the ball stick and he holds it up, the gap again between our midfield and our forwards is massive. Yeah. And it just shows when Dale Fry and Grant all have the ball at the back, the you know what I mean? The options are very limited, James, and it most times ends up a lump up into the corners, for someone to chase.
Yeah. I think if you're going to have a striker like Ichipezu, you need to make sure you have wingers who get balls into the box, don't you?
Yeah. The lads who have been chipping in so far with the contributions seem to be agreeing with you boys. We've got Patrick Wheatley saying, really happy with Sunday, but we need goal scorers in by Saturday and a left-sided player. And Patrick again followed that up with, go get Andre Gray as soon as possible. Rai Songley, hope you're well, Rai. He said Ikpeazu didn't get much service. He played well, but his man of the match was Mark Bowler. We'll get on to Bowler later on in the show. David, coming to you. I mean, I thought we started brightly the first 10, 15 minutes, but then Fulham soon took control and began to dominate proceedings, didn't they?
It did. We need to remember where Fulham were last year and that they are a Premier League club and they haven't really lost many players and they've added Harry Wilson with real quality. So we knew it was going to be a test. And if you'd offered all the Boro fans a point before the game, we'd have all snapped your hands off.
Definitely.
We came into the game the last 25 minutes once the substitutions came, but before that we flattered to deceive. We didn't really create anything, but like I seen one of the viewers say there, once it's 1-0, you're always in the game, aren't you? And those changes brightened it up in a bit of pace, and I think it just highlighted, I know he never got the goal, but Tavernier for his work he did towards the goal of how much we're going to rely on that guy this season. And I don't think it's fair just putting it all on his shoulders. We definitely need to add some more in the final third, because we couldn't even change formation, and that because of the lack of numbers, we've just got no creativity at all.
Yeah, good point. Mark Knott, you seem to have a good weekend in the capital. Said good result, poor game to be brutal, but happy in the end. Same old story, lacking punch and a clever striker, not a bulldozer. And maybe that's something we need to go alongside Dick Piers. Like I say, it's a big ask, and I think not many Boro fans are expecting him to get chipped in with 15 to 20 a season. And I know I saw some stats yesterday saying that he contributes more than maybe the goals. It's what he creates for other people and other players and chances and stuff like that. But I think that department is still something we're maybe lacking in a little bit. Damon?
It was nice to see his effort though, James, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
We've seen people like Bristol City who haven't given a damn about the club. Nobody could question he could put that shift in, and I think that's what we all want to see at the bare minimum. But yeah, we want to see a goal scorer alongside that. Yeah,
no, there's some great contributions coming in from the viewers, which I'll come to in a moment. Damon, just back to you. I think there was a little bit of a feeling of inevitability about Fulham taking the lead when they did, and it came from the £12 million man Harry Wilson. But when you look not just at his signing, but other players that Fulham had and who that would bring off the bench as well, I mean, that shows probably the gulf between the two clubs at the moment, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these are they were a Premier League side last season, so I mean, we did well to stay in the game. To be honest, I mean, it could have been 3 or 4 by half time, really, but we hung in there and we got a point out of it. And as the lad said, in the last 20 minutes, we turned it on and we could have nicked the winner, to be honest, because I think we were all over them. I think a bit more time we would have won that game. But like you say, I'm happy with the point, and I think the likes of Ikpanzo, I think the reason why he took him off is because he got the yellow card, and he was stirring up trouble. I think on the pitch, and he was like what I seen on Sky. He was looking at he was wincing a bit. I think it was just tiredness. I think from him as well, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no.
James, Tony, I bet you guys were screaming at the telly when he got yellow carded for that header.
I was going mad, David. I was going mad. I was literally absolutely screaming because the ref, Keith Stroud, I think it was, he was given all the decisions for Fulham. It was like seeing one-sided on Sky. But
Damon, I think that Keith Stroud's the referee who, up until last season, I think he'd reffed the Boro about 8 times and we'd never won. And I think we managed to squeeze one win last season with him officiating our game. You know, as soon as I seen who the referee was, I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah. I thought he looked like a sweet chunk out of the police academy.
Usually being a player in a tackle like that, though, in the 80s, surely, wouldn't you?
Oh, there's plenty like that, yeah. There was no red cards for me there yesterday, David. No red cards for me.
My dad didn't like him. He called him, one of the Driscoll brothers out of Only Fools and Horses, the little one.
Yeah.
That's who it is. That's who Keith Stroud is.
Zach Buckley's got in touch and he said, great result considering we never really get results on the first day of the season, and never mind at Fulham. I know often we seem to lose 1-0 at Fulham, so it was great to turn that round. Tony, bringing you back in again. Some people have been maybe critical of Boro's performance over the first 70 minutes for the lack of attacking threat posed. Do you think that's fair?
I think that's fair on a lot of the games last season, James. It just seemed to be like a continuation from where we were last season, but I was a bit critical of Bowler's first half performance yesterday, along with, like you say, Marcy House. And I didn't know the kid had been injured, and I didn't know he'd had COVID. You know what I mean? I didn't know he'd missed a lot of pre-season, but he just looked like the Bowler who Woodgate signed. He just looked like a fish out of water. He was, he didn't know his body positioning was all wrong. Plus the fact he had Wilson to contend with. So, but as an attacking force, like you say, 70 minutes. This is what we've got to come to terms with under Warnock. I think staying in a game and producing some at the last 20 minutes, because when he did make the changes, he took a striker off. Well, he took both our strikers off and brought a midfielder on and a fullback. Then he brought Jones on. So we had 3 players there who were willing to run at people and take people on. And it totally changed it for us. You know what I mean? So whether that's the way forward, I can't be too critical about the lack of endeavour for the first 70 minutes, because that's the way things are. That's the way it's been under Warnock since he came.
Yeah. And I think you're right, Tony, especially against teams which have got more firepower and more creativity. It is just a case sometimes you have to hold your hands up and say, we've got to stay in the game, haven't you? And Warnock's a past master at doing that, and he got it spot on yesterday for me.
But like you say, Fulham got the fingers burnt, and it happens. Like you say, for instance, we were talking earlier, the Coventry Forest game, the game's never over when it's 1-0, especially in the Championship.
Yeah. When you're playing Peterborough and Hull and teams like that at home, you can't play with those types of formation. No. The emphasis has got to be on the home team, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Steve Goldby, Paul's fan, glad you had a good result of the weekend, Steve. Hope you enjoyed your day. He said there, you can't knock Boro for that performance. It wasn't great, but first game of the season, a point away down in London against an ex-Premier League team is a very good point, and I don't think many people will disagree with that. And David,
no, we're a point better off than what we were this time last season, so we have to be happy.
Of course we are, mate, definitely. And David, what I was going to say is, if nothing else, it shows that not only this season, but last season more so, we produced, I think it's 19 points from losing positions. So that shows, under Warnock, there's a great deal of resilience within this squad, which maybe hasn't been there in the last 4 or 5 years. And he deserves a lot of credit for that, doesn't he?
Oh, well, sure. Resilience and togetherness. I mean, when you've seen the goal going, you've just seen all the players celebrate together. And especially with the new signings, it looks like they've gelled in really quickly. And that was a bit of a worry of mine. So that's going to be important as the season goes on, which was nice to see.
Yeah, definitely. Damon, bringing you back in again, mate. Paul Nicholas has said there that Isaiah Jones made a big difference when he came on. And as we said before we came on air, Tavernier, as David mentioned earlier, but Isaiah Jones played a huge part in the goal for Mark Bowler. And I think they probably made a lot of people, especially Jones, who maybe that was the first sight for a lot of people yesterday, made people sit up and take notice, haven't they?
Absolutely. I mean, the lad's got, we have to nurture him because he's got great potential for this club. And it's pace we've been, that bit where he kept the ball in and he sped past the Fulham player. Honestly, that was something else, keeping that ball in play. And you have to nurture him. And we've been crying out for that for years, since Adama left. Pace like that, raw pace. Yes, he's only young. He's only going to learn with more games. If you get someone like that on the other side, you're going to have a good season for me. But you have to get these players in, unfortunately, don't you? So, and
I know it's only the first game of the season, Damon, but I don't think you'll see a better pass inside the box than the pass he made the bowler. I thought it was
quality, Tony.
The pass made the goal. It just absolutely split two of their lads split them in two, and it like you said, it was class. It was total class. That's what made the goal, and it made everybody sit up and notice who's this Jones to be making a pass like that.
Yeah,
it's quality.
David, what do you? Go on, Damon.
Sorry,
mate.
I've seen him in pre-season, Jones as well, in person, and honestly, he was unbelievable in pre-season as well. I think it was against York. Right. Made a few good runs. It was really good.
David, what do you think of that comment from Patrick Wheatley? Patrick said, I think Jones needs to go out on loan. Do you agree with that, or do you think, do you know what, he could be much more important if we keep him in? We need him as part of our squad this season.
Well, we can't afford anybody to go out on loan at the moment, but he was out on loan last season before he got injured, and then he's played reserve football with Tooten, hasn't he? Where we signed him from, and he's not a young kid. He's turning 23 later this year, so with his raw potential of first team action. I think just throw him in there and get surrounded with experienced players, the likes of your Howsons, and he can only get better playing with players like that. If he was 18, 19, you could understand maybe going out on loan, but not at his age now. Not for me, anyway.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Patrick. I'd like to ask Patrick why he thinks he should go out on loan, because, like you say, he's 23 now and he's just breaking into our first team. I think he was at Queen of the South, wasn't he, on loan?
Yeah.
And he's done, he's done his time away from the club, and let's get the best out of these players. He's made his first appearance in front of a lot of Boro fans, and for me, like you say, along with Tav, even Spence, all three of them were willing to run with the ball, and they all made the difference.
Yeah, we've been crying out to find like a hidden gem in the lower leagues, and then as soon as we've signed potentially one, we then start asking, he should be shipped out because he's not ready. It's like, well, neither was Jamie Vardy. You've got to throw them in.
Yeah, Mark, not
typical Boro fan, David.
Mark Knott said there, if George had been Brazilian, the whole world would be taking note. He has the potential to be a very good player, and he did do well. He came on, it was like 25 minutes or so, but I think also the other thing is, Damon, people have not got to go overboard and put too much pressure on the lad and too much in the way of expectation. You've got to find the right balance, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely, you do. You've got to nurture him, and he's with all these more kids coming through. The kind of likes of Nathan Wood as well. He's another one. You've got to nurture him into the side. He's been out on loan. You probably have to keep him as well because we need defence. Because one's gone out on loan tonight. Aidan Coulson's gone out on loan, but hopefully we'll do a bit more business for the coming the end of the window, and then hopefully we'll have a strong squad to compete.
Yeah, and Tony,
sorry, Damon, talk about nurturing. He hasn't got a better people around him, has he, with Warnock and Jepson and Blackwell?
Yeah. No, he has to answer Steve Gibson and what he's going to get. If he's going to get the money, he's going to get the money. If he's not, he's not. He has to work with what he's got.
Yeah, and Tony did mention it earlier on. It was a game that we could have easily won at the end, and it's really encouraging to see that we finished the game probably the stronger out of the two teams in the last 15 minutes.
Like you said, I've seen a comment earlier on there, somebody thinking that Johnny Howson's gone back over and he's not the player he used to be since he got the captain and armband. He never stops running, and like you say, our midfield was a bit non-existent for 50, 60 minutes. But like you say, once them lads got the second wind, and Fulham was just starting to find out what the championship's all about again. Johnny Howson was fantastic, and like you say, what was it, the 90th minute, closing down the halfway line, winning possession, and driving on the
picked a good
creating
ball
a chance, creating a chance. Tav had it, the one that Tav blasted over the bar. Yeah, the chances were there. The chances came late, and it was a fantastic point. But then chances we created just left a little bit. Did we leave something out there? Have we left 2 points down at Craven Cottage?
Yeah, it's frustrating, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And David, before I move on from the Fulham game, you've got to give a huge amount of credit to the 1,600 Boro fans that were there. I mean, they backed the players throughout, and they've set a high standard for the rest of the season now, haven't they?
Oh, Jesus, yeah. We know we travel well away from home, but considering it was in London, it was on Sky, and it just shows. I mean, I always say, but Boro fan base away from home is one of the best I've seen. I compare that to away fans coming to our ground, and the noise we make is unbelievable. And I think the players and Warnock deserve that as well.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that. Boys, we'll move on to transfers now and what's been happening the last week or so. Damon, yesterday on the bench was Martin Payero, or however you pronounce it. I know I've heard one or two different pronunciations of his name. He finally completed his move from Banfield last week. Realistically, what you're expecting from him this season?
Well, if he's like his counterparts that we've had at this club, it could be something special, couldn't he? I hope he. We don't expect too much too soon, of course, like any other player. But he'll bed in well, and hopefully we'll get the best out of him. He's got the number 10 shirt, so it's a lot to live up to. Janino's old number, so who knows?
Oh Jesus! You just said don't put pressure on him.
I have to say that, mate. I have to. Sorry.
And Tony, mentioned very briefly earlier by Damon Hayden Coulson, I think that was probably the big shock with last week's squad numbers when they were announced that he had no squad number at all. And that suggests that he's on his way out, but that's an area that needs addressing hugely, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised about the Coulson saga. It's a bit like the Lewis Wing. They just don't seem to be Pulis, God, excuse me, Warnock's players. You know what I mean? God, I was going back a bit there. They just don't seem to fit into Warnock's plans. So, yeah, you know, Coulson, like you say, he's another one who always gives everything when he comes on as sub. Maybe it's not so much when he starts, but for me, he hasn't done a lot wrong, Coulson, and I just wherever he ends up, I just wish him all the best. Like you say, I kept looking through the squad to see what his number was, and obviously there's something in the wind for the kid to be moving on, and I hope it happens for him now, because like you say, he's just going to be cast aside this season if he doesn't get a club to go to.
He's gone to Ipswich, I think, Tony.
Is it a definite then? He's definitely gone?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, on loan. Season-long loan. He had his medical earlier.
All right, nice one. So, yeah, it's a shock, especially when we're so short on numbers. If out happens to Bowler, you know what I mean? There's not much cover there at all down that left-hand side.
Yeah.
And David, we've said it before. I don't know how long we've been saying this for, but it is an issue, and it just showed itself even more yesterday that we do require reinforcements at the top end of the pitch, and hopefully they'll be coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's desperate. Without it, I think you say goodbye at the playoffs, because teams are winning around there score goals, and they've got a 15-goal strikers, you know, and we haven't got that. But we need wide men as well, because we need to change formation and the dynamics of the team, and we're too short, we're too rigid, and we haven't got that something a little bit special in the final third, which I think we need. And I'm sure he's going to be prioritising that. And look, the loans are going to be coming soon as well. The Premier League squads will announce their squad, so hopefully we get some young talent come through from the likes of, you know, Man City maybe.
Yeah, that's
you just said there, Dave, he needs to be prioritising this, but it's the same problems we had last season, and really it should have been dealt with early doors. We shouldn't be into the first week of the season and we've still got the same problems as last season, which Warnock said he was going to iron out. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
Ikpeazu is definitely not the answer. We need someone up there either alongside him or, you know, someone up there that's going to... I don't want to knock the lad. I honestly don't want to knock the lad, because the majority of fans... The majority of lads I've spoken to today all think he had a good game, but he's not a striker that's going to get us goals. And like you said, we lost Balassi, we lost Mendes Lang, which were creative. Cabano, they created some chances for us last season, and he hasn't replaced that. So whether he's got something up his sleeve in the next coming weeks before September,
Guesty, the problem I'm seeing is we want a striker and we want wingers. Now, you might go out and buy them. If you've got Warnockers of one season, are we then repeating the same mistakes if we go spend 5 million on a striker and it doesn't fit the new manager next season? It's a catch-22, isn't it? So I think he's gone for the Ikpeazu because it's low risk on a low wage. And that might be why he's stayed away from that.
I mean, I think...
We're 4-1. We're 4-1 to go up. So what are the bookmakers seeing in Middlesbrough? Is it just down to the Warnock factor?
Yeah.
Are we just totally putting all our faith and trust in Warnock to get us up? Because that's a dangerous game for us fans to be playing, because if we go on a couple of the runs like we did last season, if we have the home form like we did last season, he's going to get right pelters, isn't he?
Yeah, oh yeah. I couldn't agree more. I just think fans need to be careful what they're asking for, because if we could spend 6 million on a striker, and it might be the biggest mistake we're going to do with Warnock obviously not staying next season.
I don't know. Lads, I think we've signed 7 players after signing Luke Daniels today, and I think that's pretty good going in terms of we haven't left everything at the last minute like we normally seem to do the last few years. And I just sometimes think, as you've mentioned in a way there, David, getting the strikers in and getting the right strikers in at the right price is probably the most difficult thing to do. It's quite easy to pick up a defensive player or a midfield player. You can pick them up quite easy in a way, but a striker, everybody's after a striker that's going to get you goals and at the right price. And that's probably why it's like almost a game of brinkmanship, isn't it? With all clubs are like waiting to the last minute to get the right man. It's not easy to get your striker in, is it?
Oh, how many times have we been there, James, as well? We thought Fletcher was the answer. We thought Braithwaite was the answer. You know, we've spent big money on these guys, and then we've changed managers, and they haven't fitted the new manager's style, and then they're getting frozen out and sold on for a knockdown price. So we've just got to be really careful, and I think the Kieran Scott appointment's going to help with that.
Yeah. Mike
Is the right striker sat on the bench?
Could be. Akpom could be.
No, I'm on about the other kid, Coburn.
It's a loss.
It's a big ask, isn't it?
Coburn.
Yeah.
Akpom might be that striker under a different manager, but he's not going to play the Warnock's way. He's not a Warnock striker, is he? And we that's why we were quite surprised when we signed him. He could play under a more offensive manager, and he could shine.
Yeah. Michael Payne's got in touch and he said there, we haven't had a striker to get goals for a long time now, and it is crucial that we get the right man. And as you say, and I echo your statements there, David, it is, but it's about the cost as well. And hopefully the new man that's come in from Norwich, hopefully he'll help us identify that player. But that's going to probably be too late for this transfer window. But in future transfer windows, hopefully that'll help us on that path. We'll move on to the game. Go on, Damon.
Sorry. They're on about that Aaron Boanza, aren't they, from that Turkish club for €7 million, I think. But
big gamble, that though, isn't it, Damon?
Yeah, see, I'd much rather is go and get someone that's proven in this league rather than a foreign sort like a Dwight Gale or something like that. Go and splash the cash if you're going to buy something, get something like that in the club. I think he'll get you goals for sure.
Scored 2 good goals yesterday.
Yeah, true. But again,
you know what I mean?
He won't come cheap, will he?
Well, that's it.
Yeah. No, it's tough. It's tough. It is a tough decision that the club have to make, whether you go for broke and shell out an awful lot of money, but then you run the risk of paying back in a way over a longer spell of time and it costing you even more. And as you say there, we spent an awful lot of money on our last 2 strikers who've left us for free this summer and haven't really delivered the goods, have they?
No.
So we'll see on that one. Boys. Blackpool it is on Wednesday anyway in the League Cup. Tony, we go to the seaside, and although probably this competition's at the bottom of our list of priorities this season, I still believe that the club has sold over 2,000 tickets for that game on Wednesday night. So those fans that are travelling to Blackpool will want to see a performance and a result, won't they?
Definitely, like you say, it's. But this competition's never ever, for the early rounds, it's never been about the fans, James. You could take 2,000. I remember Arsenal coming to the Riverside, for the semi-final. And apart from Patrick Vieira, and I think he'd signed that Reyes, apart from them two, a semi-final, the Arsenal end was packed and he played the kids practically, you know what I mean? It wasn't, the Arsenal Fest team playing in the semi-final. And I don't think there's many managers now that, I know Man City keep winning it, but I don't think there's many managers now will take these early rounds serious, James, which is sad on the fans, you know what I mean? And they shell out a lot of money. It's not the first season it's happened, and like you say, they're going to go down there full of optimism to, watch mainly the majority of our under-23s.
Steve Goldby's been in touch again, they say. I hope these fans that are going to Blackpool lads staying in the Norbrick Hotel on Tuesday. Well, I'll give a disclaimer to that. It might be a nice hotel, but Steve's advice is not to stay there.
Believe me, I've stayed in the Norbrick Castle, and I tell you what, it's an experience.
We'll leave it at that, boys, I think.
Yeah.
David, as Tony's mentioned there, it's sure to be a much changed lineup from the one that played at Fulham yesterday. So who do you think will feature? Warnock's given indications that Piero may start on Wednesday and a few of the under-23s. Do you think he'll go along that route?
Yeah, I think he will, and I think you'll see that Luke Daniels, who was signed today, make a bit of a debut, and the likes of Tavernier and Boro, who were risked at the weekend, you won't see them. He'll hang fire for Bristol City against them. But it's a good time to shine. Blackpool will probably be doing the same in preparation for their game on the Saturday, because they'll want to get off to a winning start of their home game as well. So it could go either way. I think a lot of Boro fans wouldn't have been tuning in tomorrow, but will be now that Piero's starting. I think all fans are quite excited by that.
Yeah. And Damon, as David's mentioned there, Blackpool have come back up to the Championship. They got a point at Bristol City in their opening game at the weekend, and their first home game of the season. And on the flip side, they'll want to impress in front of their own fans, won't they?
Absolutely. Well, if the pitch is anything to go by, we're not playing on sand again, hopefully. But Blackpool are a decent team. They haven't got quite the same team as they had years ago with the likes of Charlie Adam, but in the side. But they are a good side, and it'll be a tough test for us. But I'm not really too fussed if we get dumped out, to be honest. I'm more focused about the league, to be honest. That's what I want us to focus on more. But I can see the likes of Piero starting, Coburn, Civi, and a few other lads as well. But as long as we go there with optimism, and I'm sure most of the fans that get in, they'll be half cut anyway. So,
you think they'll be enjoying the seaside hospitality? Do you think, Damon? Yeah,
I think so. I think some will be still stuck in the pleasure beach rather than at the ground itself. So,
well, hopefully they'll be feeling happy after they've left Bloomfield Road on Wednesday night. So I'll come down with your predictions. Tony, to you first. Blackpool v Boro in the League Cup. What's your score prediction, mate?
I hate it when you do this, James. I'm going to go 2-1 Boro.
2-1 Boro. Fair dues. David?
I'm echoing Guesty. I reckon 2-1.
2-1. Is it a full house, Damo?
Nah, let's go 3-1. Go on. I'll go 3-1.
All right. Plenty of confidence there. Lee Thistlewaite's gone 2-2, as is Steve Goldby.
He'll get it right.
2-2. Well, that'll be then 1-0 Patrick Wheatley. Well, obviously, League Cup, if it's a draft of 90 minutes, it goes straight to penalties. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting one. Steve Walker's been in touch again. I hope you're well, Steve, mate. 4-2 to Boro. So, people are expecting a fair few goals there. And as you say, it's an opportunity, isn't it, when teams are maybe not putting out their first teams for some of these lads to impress. And you, more often than not, David, get quite open games, don't you?
Yeah, that's why I think there'll be a few goals, because the younger players will be keen to impress, like you've just said there, and they've got no fear in those types of matches. And I think also Warnock, these types of matches, he's not bothered about losing it, so he will let the leash off and just say go out and enjoy it. And I'm sure that Neil Critchley will be saying the same to his Blackpool team, and it's got an entertaining game on it.
Yeah, I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right. Then on Saturday, we've mentioned Bristol City, and the Robins are the visitors to the Riverside when it's opened up to all Boro fans for the first time since March 2020. David, Tony, I'll come to you first, boys. I mean, who'd have thought that game against Nottingham Forest in March 2020 would be the last time you'd set foot in the Riverside for 18 months to watch the Boro? I mean, Tony, what's your feelings going to be like on Saturday? What's your routine going to be like? Is it the same as always, or are you doing something different? What you're going to be doing?
I think I'll go down there about 8 o'clock Saturday morning and just sit there and wait It's been, like you say, it's been such a long time, James. And yeah, we went for the England game, but it still wasn't the same, you know. Yeah, the routine will still be the same, James. I'll be leaving here about 12:30 and then just wherever my feet take me, and I just can't wait. So, like you say, I think the four of us now can honestly say our season starts on Saturday to get back in that Riverside. And the way them, like you say, them 1,600 supporters, our lads yesterday, let's get some support like that back into the Riverside, because
definitely
we've got to make it a fortress. I remember the Riverside where the singing, the shouting, the screaming used to go all the way around the ground. It wasn't just confined to one end. It was the full Riverside that used to be up. So I'm just hoping, like you say, the fans will definitely be up for it. The Coventry fans yesterday, the second half, they never stopped. They chanted and chanted and chanted all the way through that second half. And it'd be nice to hear something like that at the Riverside. And like you say, it does give the players a lift. You know, they've missed out a lot, and they've missed us like we've missed them. So let's give them a game to remember.
Yeah. Paul Nicholas has been in touch again. He said that it's his first season in the South Stand because my son's desperate to get amongst it. I hope I don't regret it. I mean, for you, David, what's your feelings ahead of Saturday's game and that return to the Riverside?
It's surreal. It doesn't seem like it's happening because it's been for so long. I've been making excuses up since March 2019, cycling, running, just to get a glimpse of the Riverside, thinking when am I going to be in next. And yeah, when the tickets arrived, it was like, oh, we're going back to normality. I went to the game, Hartlepool game on Saturday, and that just whet the appetite. And that was a surreal experience. And it's just going to be strange. And I hope the fans get behind the team for the whole 90 minutes. I've seen on some of the forums they're asking all fans to wear red to do a C, and I think that's going to be important just to get the club back together, because without fans, football just isn't the same, is it?
No. And I know before we came on air tonight, you mentioned the support at Hartlepool on Saturday. Like Tony mentioned there about the Coventry fans and how they influenced the game. And you said there at Victoria Park on Saturday how the Pools fans for the whole game made an absolute racket and got right behind the team, didn't they?
They actually got the win in the end, because the way Hartlepool were playing, they were missing loads of chances, but the fans just didn't stop, and it gave them that kick on. And I think that's what made them get the late goal, because the fans didn't have making an effort. And it is a smaller ground, but like what Tony was saying, it was around the whole of the ground. All the fans were joining in. Everyone was in good spirits, and it's so important, so important.
Yeah. And do you think Boro fans can do that on Saturday? Because, like I say, it's been almost 18 months since we've had a game at the Riverside, so you would hope that people are absolutely at it on Saturday from the first minute to the last, because it can make a hell of a difference, can't it, David?
James, I think it will, but the performance at home tends to dictate of how the crowd goes for me. And I think we need to get away from that just for this Saturday because of the occasion. Winning 1-0 or losing, we just need to give it all we've got for the whole 90 minutes, because it's an experience we've all been waiting for. And let's not get into bad habits quick, and when there's a sideway pass, start moaning, like we do at the home grounds. We just need to be on all of our top form. We need the clappers from Fulham.
Oh, I don't know about that, mate. I don't want to go down that route, but yeah, we need some noise, but we'll leave the clappers. I think we'll leave them behind.
Do you think the atmosphere will stay throughout the game, guys?
I think I'm a bit like you. It's dictated to by what happens on the pitch, isn't it, to some extent?
I think it'll differ, won't it? I think it'll differ. Like, say, if we play a stray, I think that, like you said, David, I think there'll be a stray. There'll be negativity, won't there, if we make a stray pass or something like that. I think. I know our Boro fans are sat in the west stand anyway. When I've been, and there's negativity around there. Unfortunately, I can't make the game Saturday or the QPR game due to financial issues, but it's it's guttering, like, because I really wanted to see the Boro, and it would be emotional. So
we all start 15 minutes, our fans, don't we? At home.
And you know what? It won't surprise me. Warnock being the wily character that he is, he'll know that there's going to be, as Paul Nicholas has mentioned there, probably around 25,000 tickets have been sold for Saturday, apparently. Right. If there's a decent crowd of 25,000 upwards in there, I'm sure part of his instructions before the game, Tony, will be give this crowd something to get into in the first 10, 15 minutes. Fly out the traps against this lot here. Get them on your side and they'll stick with you. And Boro fans, they stuck with the team yesterday. I know it was a smaller numbers, but if you've got something to go at, the fans will back them all the way, won't they, Tony?
Yeah, like you say, us as fans and them as players, we have to turn that into a fortress. And we've done it a few times last season. We've got to come out the traps early, get the fans behind the lads from the first kick, really. And like you say, if we're pushing on, that place will end up, you know, we've all witnessed it. It'll just be bouncing. Do you know what I mean? So obviously there's going to be lulls, you know, when we haven't got possession. But that's when we need to stick with the lads more than ever. Do you know what I mean? We've got Big Nudge coming up here, and he's most probably played at the Riverside when it's been at its loudest. You know what I mean? And he knows what it's like, and he'll be telling their players if you allow the crowd to get behind them, you know, they'll wipe the floor with us. And we owe Bristol City one. You know what I mean? It's time we give them a good hiding. So let's just get behind them and make as much noise as possible.
Yeah. Chris Andrews echoes these thoughts. He said we need a fast start, high tempo. And Steve Walker has mentioned here, Damon, that he said Warnock knows the game's where to shut up shop, like Fulham, and a game against Bristol City is the opposite. That's a game that you need to attack. And Damon, above all else, putting the emotion aside, it's a big 3 points that are on offer, because as soon as you get that first win of the season, then you can feel as though, yeah, right, that's it. We're on our way. Let's get going. Let's get looking up that table.
Exactly, and you've got to make, as Tony alluded it there, you've got to make the Riverside a fortress, especially make it difficult for teams wanting to come here and play good football. And if you play good football, well, the sky's the limit, really, for Boro. Yeah. And I don't know about you, I had Bristol City in my predictions to finish in the bottom 3 this season. So hopefully I'm right, because we'll stuff them at the Riverside. I hope we stuff them at the Riverside, because we're going to give some teams a good hiding. Honestly, I believe that. I really do believe it, because we've got the capable squad of doing it. So why not?
Yeah. Well, I know last year, and you alluded to it there, Tony, as well. They came here, I think they just got rid of the manager, and Pearson had just took over, and they were on the back of a horrendous run. And the steamrolled us 3-1, didn't it? To be honest, I think that was Jeju's night, wasn't it? I think it was when he last scored a goal. But as you say, we owe them. But Nigel Pearson, he's also a canny operator, and it won't be easy at the weekend, will it?
No, like you said, especially under Pearson, he'll make them hard to beat. But like I'm just reading the comments there. It's a home game, and we have to go for it. You know. We didn't see much of Watmore yesterday, so you know, but he always seems to perform well at the Riverside. So fingers crossed, the big lad up front can knock a few on for him.
Yeah,
and like you said, like you said, Bristol City's a team I like it to beat. You know what I mean? Because I've had a bit of disappointment against them over the last few seasons.
Yeah. And David, how do you see us lining up for that game? We've spoke about how we might approach the game differently. We're going to attack Bristol City and maybe not be as passive as we were for most of the game yesterday at Fulham. But how do you see Boro line up? Do you think we'll go with 2 holding midfielders again as we did yesterday? Or do you think it'll be a flat back 4? Will he go for a back 3? How do you see Warnock playing that one at the weekend?
Similar to yesterday, I think, with the wing backs, but he'll be asking them to offer more in the final third than what he did at Fulham. I think he kept them quite reserved away at Fulham, so we never got counter-attack. But at home, I think he'll be asking Bowler and Dijksteel to be as high as possible and get balls into the box for us to attack. One thing that did impress me yesterday at times against Fulham was the amount of bodies we were getting in the box. I know we didn't create anything and they didn't come to it, but in some attacks we had 5 or 6 midfield players joining the attack, and we haven't seen that in a while. And I'm hoping, obviously, if we can get more balls into the box, that's going to be our way forward.
Yeah. Well, Steve Walker's saying here, he's not being funny, but we shouldn't be worried about Bristol City, regardless of who's in charge of them. Guesty is bang on though. We owe them one. So, boys, with that in mind, on what's going to be an emotional day on Saturday, what is your prediction for Saturday's match with Bristol City? Damo, come to you first, mate.
3-0, Boro.
Oh, that's confident for you. That's confidence there. 3-0 Boro.
I don't like that. I think Bristol will go down. That's why I think we'll beat them 3-0. I think if we start well, we'll beat them 3-0.
Steve Walker's gone 3-0. There's a hell of a lot of confidence here. We're knocking Blackpool out the League Cup, and now we're in Bristol City as well.
Tony's in stitches here.
Because we've just spent 45 minutes saying with a team that's going to struggle to score goals.
Dave Richardson, hope you're well, mate. He's sick of getting grief of an old work colleague, his old team commander in Northern Ireland. So he said 2-0 Boro. Patrick Wheatley's gone 2-0 Boro. Pooley Steve Golby's gone 2-1 Boro. Last minute winner. God, imagine the scenes and the limbs if that happens. Tony, what's your prediction for Saturday against Bristol City?
Like you said, I'll go 2-0 because even that's, extreme for us at the moment to expect us to bag 2. But like you say, that's the way forward at home. We do have to go for it at home this season. So I'm going to go 2-0.
Yeah, and is it another full house again, David? A week of Boro wins?
Yeah, I need to stop predicting Guesty's predictions because I'm saying 2-0 as well. I've just got a feeling, but it'll be a comfortable 2-0 as well, I think.
Comfortable 2-0.
What about you?
I think we'll win 2-1. I think it'll be a tough game, but I think we'll find a way to win. And I'm just hoping that the fans really are the 12th man on Saturday. And I think the players will need it. It's on the back of a difficult start of the season, 3 games in 7 days. So it's a tough start for the players, although probably not many of them will play all 3 games. But I think the players will need us more than ever, I think, on Saturday. And I think the fans will maybe drag us over the line. And I think we'll finish the week with a win, which, to be honest, boys, if we start the season 4 points from 6, you couldn't have really asked for much more than that, could you, Tony?
No, 2 points a game is the average, James, to get you up. So, if we come away with a win, we're on target.
Yeah. Lee Thistlewaite's gone, stick your gyro on a 3-1 Boro win. Loads of confidence here on Saturday. Dan Broadbent a 2-0 Boro win.
Someone's gone 4-1 there.
The season always starts optimism like that, doesn't it?
Let's just see how we're all feeling this time next week, boys. It should be quite interesting. But unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this week's Monday night show. As always, many thanks to everybody for watching and all your contributions. Love it. Great to have you in touch with us all again. And always, a big, big thanks to Tony Guest, David Campbell and Damon LaRoche for joining me. Thanks again, boys.
Come on, Saturday.
Yeah, can't wait for Saturday. Another big week for the Boro. On and off the pitch, hopefully there might be 1 or 2 more bodies coming in to join that first team squad. So the best way to keep up to date with everything is to subscribe to Boro Fan TV. But until next week and the Monday night show then, from us all here, good night and up the Boro.
Up the Boro.